Okay, hello, good evening, day, or morning, depending where you are. Let me just add the link to the chat first, so it's then there. Heipä hei ja hyvää iltaa. Hopefully the view seems to be okay. A little bit behind or like lagging the video. It's kind of sluggish, it seems, but I'm hoping that the sound is okay, that you can hear me. Let me just move the screen a little bit so it's easier for me to see it on there on the left. Hopefully it's okay. Not too sure because it's a little bit kind of funky looking, the screen, but hopefully it will be okay and everything will work out nicely. So welcome and let's get started, because now I started the live so late that it's already time to start creating. So hello, and we are making some cards today. These two are the samples and I'm recreating them, maybe switching the colors around this time to get a little bit difference, but anyhow. So let me move the paints a little bit to the side as well, so I have more space to get this out. So the stamps, both the sentiment and the flowers, are from this set. It's called Abstract Florals from Stampers Anonymous. So let's move these over here, for example. So you get a little sneak peek of them still. So we are going to be using two different florals. There's a couple of more, so you could use those as well. Oh, sorry about the ring light glaring all the time. And then a leaf. But I'm being a little bit dull and just repeating what I did there. So a stamp to the stamping block, and then some ink. This is my go-to ink, this Archival. So I'm using that. It's handy. Although I've been kind of trying to use a little bit different stamping ink, so it's not always black, because I often just opt for the black one. It's kind of easy, but then again, because there's so many colors available, so why not use something else every now and then. Just inking the stamp and then pressing it here. And I don't mind that this is a little bit too small stamping block. I can just use my finger to get the stamp. Good evening, good evening. Hopefully you're okay. And then a couple of leaves still. A little bit different time this week because of the summer shenanigans and things. So I thought to keep the live on Friday, so then the weekend is kind of off. First leaf. This could be some kind of a grain also, because, well, as the set name is abstract flowers, so, or florals was it? But you can kind of interpret the shape in different ways. So this could be wheat stalks, for example, for Thanksgiving or an autumn project. So let me move these aside now. And then I need, well, let's paint these first so they can start drying, and then I'll make the background. It's quite a simple background this time. I was trying to go for really just, how would I say, clean and simple in a way. But, well, it didn't end up being that clean and simple that I was thinking about first. I ended up adding an element there to make it a little bit more complicated. Okay, now this one is stuck. Let's go like this then. And let's see if this one works better. Yes. Don't need much. They are quite pigmented, these acrylics, fluid acrylics. So they're more like acrylic inks. If you don't have these particular ones, of course you can use watercolors as well to color. I just thought it would be fun to use something else than watercolors or inks, meaning like stamping inks. Even though these are acrylics, I'm kind of going for this a little bit of watercolor look. So I diluted the paint a little bit and tried to make it flowy. Hi, Holly. Then let's get some of that pink there. And maybe I close the jar immediately because otherwise I fear that I might knock it down and then we would have a magenta all over the place. Yeah, I'm coloring this now upside down. It doesn't matter because, like I said, I'm going for this a little bit watercolor flowy look, so I don't have to be that on top of things with this floral. Now that one's almost dried, so I can add a little bit more kind of shadow layer, just a teeny tiny bit. Then that one's still wet, so let's move to the leaves then. As you can see, these go a long way. It's just a drop of color, and I'm very well able to color the whole thing using that one drop. I chose kind of a vibrant tones for the florals. So this is violet and magenta, if I remember correctly. Magenta and violet, yes. But then kind of, how would I say, not dull it down, but kind of chose a color that would make the florals pop even more. So this is Avocado Green. So it's not this really vibrant green, but more like a little bit brownish green. And in my book, I thought that that would make a nice combo. This almost kind of neon colors, so they're super vibrant, and then compare them or pair them with this avocado green, so a little bit then dulling a duller color. Let me move those aside, and I already pre-cut these. So these are going to be the backgrounds. And for those, I just used a stencil and the same colors, green mostly, and then some splashes. I used this one for the samples. Hey Karita! Like always, you can ask also questions in Finnish if you want to. Eli suomeksikin saa taas kysyä niin kuin aina. But yeah, I used this one for the samples, but if you now want to choose which one, so let's go 1, 2, 3. Just name the one you want me to choose for the background. I'll wait a little bit because of the delay and take a sip of tea while I'm doing that. So shall I use the same stencil or then alter? I think these all are kind of a leafy floral themed in a way, so they will go nicely to that background no matter what you choose. Well, I can't see a number there, so maybe I'll just pick one because I used this one. Let's go with this one this time, just to shake things up a little bit. So they're going to be similar but not the same. This was the same sponge I used to make the previous set, so it's a little bit hard, so I just cut a new surface and then can use this one. Now probably, yeah. I was thinking or fearing that the camera is now bouncing up and down, so please don't mind about that. Just 2 backgrounds quickly, so it's not going to be long, I hope. So there we have the first one. Then just a drop more because the sponge is taking up the paint, so need another drop for the other background. I'm kind of trying to get the most color to this center area just because the floral is kind of covering the top and then the sentiment the bottom, so that way I can get the most impact to the place where it's actually seen, but a little bit kind of adding to the sides as well, so blending it that way. And now that there's acrylic here, I'll just put it in a bucket of water underneath the table. Little bit bright picture, or is it too bright? Because to me it's kind of a dullish. So just let me know if there's too much light, because then I just turn off the ring light. To me it looks okay, but of course it's just my screen. No, where is it now? There it is. That's a little bit dry, so let's add some more pink to get the splashes going. Now that's better. And then let's move the other one away, or otherwise it's just splashes all over. Here we go. brightness is fine for Holly. Okay, good. Yeah, because it's okay for me as well, but of course it can be my screen that is just bright white to everybody else. But good to know that it's at least 2 screens is okay. Then some splashes to the other one as well. I'm using a fan brush because this one takes like no time at all to get the splashes going. And then let's move these aside a little bit so I'll dry the excess paint to my trusty rag this time. You could use also our general spread to get cleaned those paints so nothing is wasted, but this time just to the rag. Now these can dry a little bit while I'll take the florals and let's see if they are dry already. No, they are a little bit wet still, so I'll just dry them quickly. Sorry about the noise. Okay, that's dry enough. And then let's cut these loose. I was thinking whether I should prepare these elements beforehand or not, but I was thinking that these cards probably aren't so quick to make anyway, so I'm just cutting them here because, well, also the shape is quite easy to cut, not too fiddly. Even in the kind of dread of sounding like a parrot, the scissors stay put and the embellishment moves. So that makes things quicker and also more ergonomic. Of course, if you can or are skilled using a craft knife, then by all means use that. I'm just terrible with that. So that's why I use scissors. Here I cut the kind of floating dots just away because I feared there's too much white then showing it. So it's a little bit strange looking maybe. So just left the closest ones to the flower. If you don't want me to cut the other flower, I can just continue with one. But if you are not in a rush, of course, I will make the two. Yeah, these are nice, these florals. Immediately when I saw them, that I thought that they're really handy because it's just such a great shape. It goes to almost, you can add any sentiment to it and it works. It could be even condolences type of card, depending of course on the color scheme you look, or if you color it like really skillfully and nature-like, so it's totally different looking than just these with a layer of acrylic mostly, but still it's such a great shape. So I thought that these would make great cards, or even art journal, because you could layer them, make a huge bouquet of flowers, for example. Or I think it was Tim Holt's group, where a lady, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, has used this as the skirt. So there was a character here. Or think about the Tim Holt's, those tiny paper dolls. That might look really cool. Like a tiny paper doll with the skirt from the flower. First I say that if you don't want me to cut the other flower, just say it, and then I'm just cutting the other flower. Sorry. But I can leave the other leaf if this is going too dull. Just cut the elements. But luckily that's then a little bit more drying time to the background, so no use for the heat tool. And well, after cutting these and mounting them in place, the card is almost done. So these are quite fast. And like I'm doing here, I'm doing 2 cards in one go. That's the usual way I work. I really seldom do just 1 card, because when I have the materials out, it's then easy to make a couple ones on the same go. Kind of using the same idea as well. So they are similar but a little bit different, of course, because the flower is different, but also the coloring. Maybe another idea I could do is then to color the flower. I'm not that good of a stamp color anyway, but as good as I can, and kind of show the difference between just a splash of color and then more detailed. So that would be fun as well, I think. Okay, so now these are colored. I'm adding a little colored cut, little bit of color using a Posca paint marker. Just kind of highlighting these stamen, I think they are called. Highlighting some of that design that there already is, and then making up my own. What you could use also is like liquid pearls or something dimensional that would probably look really nice as well. So that one is almost dry, but this is still wet, so we need the hot heat tool. So sorry about the noise again. Like so. And then let's leave this here because I'm going to need it quite soon anyway, because there's these. I was telling that I kind of well, I was meaning to do really simple cards, but then when I put, well, now I can actually show you. When I put these on top, it looked okay, but my eyes thought that something was needed, something to kind of draw the eye in to the flower. So what I ended up doing is this golden circle here to the background. just kind of highlighting. The other option would have been just add a piece of cardstock or colored cardstock or pattern here, but then it would kind of cover the background. And I thought that this way I could draw the eye in without getting a too big of a element there. So I just cut using Sizzix circular dies a couple of these rings. So I just put 3 ring dies kind of stacked in that way because they're kind of going from the same center, and then cut these rings. And then I'm just going to emboss them golden. Of course, they could be white as well, but just a little bit of shine. That doesn't hurt, right? So these are made of the Fabriano cardstock I often use for almost anything. And then I'm adding the watermark ink on top and then sprinkling with golden embossing powder. Easier way, of course, could have been just cut the rings out of golden cardstock immediately. But this way I'm getting a little bit of dimension to them as well. Don't mind about the drawings and stuff. I just picked this up from the paper collection, and my daughter has been training for an exam before summer holidays. So here we go. Then tweezers. Come on. And then let's put the other one here. Like so. And I'm not going to lift that up still because I only have 1 tweezers here. So I'll move that and then emboss this one first. Like so. And there's still difference between this one and that one, and that's another layer of embossing powder. So I'm building kind of a thicker coat that way. So first adding 1 layer and then the other. But let's melt this one first. Kind of a quick cool. There's also where I have my tweezers a little bit of the powder missing, but when I add the other layer, at least with the previous ones, it then disappeared because I'm trying to get the tweezers to another spot. So first the powder is in, and then hopefully I'm not tipping the jar over because I need another layer of the embossing or the watermarking, so the powder will stick. So there. Whoops, daisy. Here we go. And then another layer of the embossing powder. So then come on, where are you? There it is. then the layer is more solid, smoother, because the first layer is a little bit dimpled. And I think I didn't have the tweezers there. Hopefully not. Then let's just move this aside for a while and melt this layer. Now it's melted. I will show you soon, but letting it cool for a while, because if I pick it up too early, then my fingerprints is going to be there. Not sure the camera can pick that up. So that's now kind of really smooth golden layer. Not any dimples or grooves in that anymore. So let's do the other one. All those there. And then this one. Like so. Then letting it cool again before picking it up. Although you can use a thicker surface or a thicker layer of embossing powder to make impressions. You can use a stamp to stamp on it or something. This time I'm wanting it to be as kind of as smooth and clear as it can be. So now we have the rings, we have the flowers, we have the backgrounds. So let's begin constructing the cards. I'm using the bigger ring for the bigger flower and the smaller one for the smaller one. And then a little bit of glue to the ring. Let's trying to put this so you can see. And this time I made the flower in purple tone, so I'll add this one then to the purple card, like so, and then the bigger one to the pink one. So they make quite a nice set that way, because then they have the colors contrasting. That's a little bit kind of warped, so let me use that to really press the ring to its place. Then I have the flower here. So the flower here. And I use two ways to secure it in place. First, with the stapler, my trusty go-to way of adhering things. And then I use foam tape to lift the flower part, the bloom part. So then that's more dimensional. And I prefer the leaf to be on the background, whoopsie daisy, and the flower on the front. But if you want to make with, for example, more leaves, then you can just add a couple different ways to make, again, the composition and the bouquet, so to speak, more dimensional, like so. And then, where did I put the scissors? There they are. A couple of pieces of the foam tape to lift the flower up. Like so. And then the other one. Just let me know if you have any questions. By the way, these are quite straightforward cards, just some elements and then done. But even though I tried to make these kind of clean and simple with maybe not minimum supplies, but still I managed to use 3 different stamp inks because of the first stamp ink, like the Archival ink, then watermark ink for this, and then for the sentiments, because it's on vellum, it's a non-porous surface, I used StazOn. So even though they are this simple, still different stamping ink. A quick zip of tea. And then these I also pre-cut. So a piece of colored cardstock, because I think that this makes a nice little frame, kind of highlights the centerpiece a little bit more, and also because I use white card bases, so it's not white on white, but there's this little dash of color there then. So just double-sided tape around the edges, and then secure it in place. What then is left is, well, a couple of things of making the sentiment strip, making a little kind of a sewn detail. It's not that visible, I'm afraid, but still, when you see the card in person, then you can spot it. But I'm guessing that from the pictures it's not visible. But if you were wondering earlier what this was, let me try to show you. Can you see that little dotted line? It was crisp, and now it's what ain't anymore. Come on, please focus to the edge. Well, there it is, a little kind of a stitch line. So this marking wheel, not sure that's the correct name for it, but it's used to mark the stitch lines, or the what are they called in English? But markings on a pattern to the fabric. So this just creates these little holes, little dimples. So it's not actually a stitch line, but it gives the impression of a stitch line. Oh, please come on and focus. Well, hopefully you can see them more in the actual pictures from the blog, because now it seems that the camera won't pick that up. The other option, of course, is to draw a little stitch line there, but I thought that this would make a little nice detail without being too obvious. Just something a little bit to finish the edge. Yeah, the pink is really vibrant pink. It's not like a baby pink, but this more, well, magenta, really. I would say almost fiery magenta, kind of really neon-like almost. And then let's go over the edges again. So I'm just pushing the wheel down, rolling to make these little markings near the edge. Of course, if you use dies, there's plenty of cutting dies with different kind of edge finishes. So by all means, you could use that one as well. But that's a little trick. If you don't have those dies and you happen to have this kind of little wheel, if you make clothes or patterns as well, so handy to use. And then these are the card bases, but first we need to make the sentiment strips. So again, let's move those a little bit. So the vellum is here. And then the sentiment. Now I'm trying to get it a little bit aligned. Although these layerings are kind of hand-drawn look, so it's not that huge of a deal if I get it a little bit crooked, but if I get it a lot crooked, then it might just look a little bit weird. So just a strip of vellum. I cut it with my paper cutter earlier. Then black StazOn ink and stamping. Even if the StazOn is meant for a non-porous, sorry about English, non-absorbing surface, then it's going to be wet for a while. So just be careful not to smudge it. So like that. And then I'm using the heat tool to get these quickly dried. Here we go. Yes, all good. Then I'll put it, kind of wrap it around the card. Now, because this is kind of a too long, so I'll have more room to think about the placement, because I can just wiggle it around, and then I'm just folding it back here, hopefully straight. Quite good. Then the other one. Here I'm thinking a little bit to the left. And then just fold it like so. And then let's secure the end here with double-sided tape. As you probably know, double-sided tape will show or vellum is a little bit tricky that way, that it's often not that easy to get it adhered, so it wouldn't show. So this is one trick out of many. So it's not adhered to the front anyway, it's just to the back to avoid the tape or glue or whatever means to show. Come on. Here we go. Then just final touches. But let's first add these to the card bases and then add the final rhinestones or the epoxy stickers. So that's when they are then done. I'm using foam tape to mount these on top of the card base, just to give them a little bit more height and more kind of, well, oomph look. Also might be partly that I love to do dimensional cards, and these are not that dimensional to begin with because there's just the flower a little bit raised. So this way I can get them more dimensional. But of course you could use just double-sided tape to adhere these to the card base if you're not into the dimension. Or if you want to add a little detail, of course you could also sew these. One there. And now let's see where the fold is. Now it's up. So we don't, I say we, but so that I won't put the card or the kind of center of tension and then upside down to the base. Luckily this tape is not immediately super duper adhered, so I could probably just flip it, but better safe than sorry. First just because there, and then the other one. Just by changing the sentiment, you can make these for different occasions. I chose this just because I thought it could go nicely to kind of any situation. If you just want to send out a card to a friend, or if you want to say thank you or whatever, I think this just because goes nicely to many occasions. Here we go. And then just the teeny tiny stickers left to be adhered. Kind of going for a triangle with these. Kind of following now my own design with the previous cards. Come on, stay there. Then one more here. So kind of a triangle there. And then for here as well. Let's go with the teeny tiny dots here. And then middle sized maybe here, because it's on its own. Like so. These are the ones I just made, and these were the samples. So same colors, but just different blooms this time. So they make a nice set. because it's the same idea throughout, but still some difference. Because this is kind of how I usually do cards, so there's a little bit of difference, but then kind of repeating the same design or idea a couple of times, because then you can turn one idea into 4 or 5 or 10 cards, but still it's not just copying the same one. So there they are. If you have any questions, now's your time, because otherwise I'm just saying thank you so much for joining me, and have a great evening or day or night or morning, depending where you are. But I'll just thank you guys. And now it's not focusing anymore. No, it's focused. Great. So thank you so much. And of course, if you're watching the then replay or the recording, just leave me a comment if you have any questions. And I'll be seeing you next month. Bye.